What's up, YouTube? Welcome back. Straight Wall Hunting Cartridge Series continued. Today we're back to 450 Bushmaster. We have the Hornady Black out, 250 grains going at 2,200 feet per second. That's awfully close to the 400 Legend 2250 from a 215 grain PowerPoint projectile. 40 caliber versus 45 caliber. So all that is pretty cool. We're very close, I think. That should be very interesting. Check out the video we did with that 400 Legend ammunition. But anyway, back to this test. We have our CVA Scout V2 out again. Same SIG Buckmaster scope. We're going after the same 10% Clear Ballistics Gel blocks that we always go after. We're going out to 100 yards, and then we'll bring it up closer to about 30 feet or so. We're going to try to run it through the chronographs and see if we can get numbers out of it. We have a brand new gel block and a used gel block down there, but they're clean. They haven't been hit before, so you guys should get a good view on that. And if anybody's not familiar with our Straight Wall Hunting Cartridge series, check out our playlist. We have plenty of videos already, and we're going to keep rocking and rolling. We're going to start getting into some really spicy ammo for all these different calibers very soon. I'm not going to bore you with the rest of the details. You guys have been around long enough, and for those of you that haven't, just catch up in the other videos. So pretty much, testing explained, let's get to shooting. All right, I just took a zero confirmation shot. I didn't want to bore you with any of that stuff. We had 2233 down there on that Caldwell, 2249.7 here on the Garmin. And now I'm going to go ahead and try to whoop the block. Yeah, looks like I got it. Hopefully we didn't come out of the block. I always worry about that till we get to it, but 2278.7 here on the Garmin, 2264 on the Caldwell. Let's go take a look. Okay, so we hit in an okay place in the block. I was using a little Kentucky windage, and it failed me a little bit. We got all the way down through here. We exited the first block. Now, the second block is sitting a little bit lower, has a little bit less volume of gel, so it kind of crept right into the top corner and then spit itself out. I have no idea what the final projectile looks like. We can't find it, so we'll have to hit it again. But in the meantime, let's look and see what this one did. All right, so we did end up with 23 inches of penetration before it finally exited the block, but we have a very controlled, typical, but actually very nice entrance wound here. There's a whole lot of disruption. Those FTX projectiles are pretty incredible. They do the job all the time. The red insert is left right here. You can't see it from the side probably, but we do see it at the top. But a whole lot of permanent wound cavity here left behind, at least in ballistics gel block. So very nice wound cavity going back quite far. We got at least 10-12 inches of good disruption, and then it starts to settle down. We do see a couple little pieces of lead. Maybe right here is a couple pieces that we see it start to lose of itself. There's a couple more pieces here, and then some copper jacketing and lead. We see copper. We actually see a piece of the red plug that's in the front of that bullet right there before it leaves the gel. Then it leaves the gel, enters the next block, and then skips out. It did bounce off the backstop. It didn't go into the backstop, but for some reason we still can't find it. It bounced pretty hard. Let's take a look at the top a little bit closer. Again, pretty nice entrance wound. There's a little bit of charring effect or maybe lead penciling effect from the stuff that goes on in there. We got copper pieces there. We do have the red plug back here. But yeah, it loses tiny little pieces of itself all the way down. Very nice wound channel though. More lead and copper getting lost right there. For some reason, the wound channel disappears for a second, but then definitely picks back up again. More red plug right there, and then you can see how it skipped itself out. Let's take this shot one more time. Let's see if we can get it to actually stay in and recover the projectile. All right, attempt number 2. I think I put it in the exact same spot probably. We would have to go for an attempt number 3, but let's go take a look. We have 2202.6 here, and we have 2194 down there on the Caldwell. All right, I wanted to get a little bit down there, but I ended up here, but it's still okay. So this is our entrance. However, it's lower than this one, so it did not skip out. Sorry, our black is getting a little bit smudged up here in the corner. That's just what happens when you hit them that close to the edge. But it will show consistency. You can't see much of a difference from the top because they're overlapping each other. But it made it all the way down here, right at about 19 inches into the block. It lost its entire copper jacket from around itself, but it continued on the lead slug in the middle of it. It landed right there at about 22 inches, I would say, maybe 21 inches after a bounce back. I said 23 inches previously, but I think these are actually at about 22. Same bounce back pretty much, or same depth bounce back as the one that we lost. So the one we lost came out right here, but the one that bounced back from here and landed to here. Let's take a look from the side, but it's pretty interesting that we probably really didn't have any energy when that thing went ahead and plopped itself out. I don't know why we can't find it, but I don't think it had much energy left at all. As you can see, pretty much identical wound tracks. They just mirror each other as they go down, which is actually really cool. So when you put them that close, don't worry, guys. It doesn't really affect it. This gel is very weird stuff, and it can take hits that are this close. But it's really cool how it lost its entire jacket all at once. It's like a big open cup right there, or a bowl, but then the slug is landing right there. We almost always have some bounce back. Sometimes you see it, sometimes you don't. So let's move this block up a little bit closer. It's going to get a little bit more violent here towards the beginning. We probably won't have as much penetration, but let's see what happens. All right, we're about 30 or so feet in front of that block now. This is for the simulation of when that deer kind of surprises you or creeps underneath your tree stand. He's right up close. We're going to have totally different performance out of this bullet, most likely. We have 2270.2, and I can't read the other one, but I'll give it to you. All right, we definitely got where we wanted to in the gel, right dead center. That's going to be a good hit no matter what. You can see it has some pretty good devastation right there, right off the rip, but let's get it straightened up a little bit more and get the tape on it. All right, I said earlier there would be totally different performance out of that bullet, but I'm not sure that's too much of the case. We see very similar characteristics in these wound channels. We probably definitely see a little bit bigger of a permanent wound cavity to begin with, but it still mimics the same shape. It still mimics the same taper down effect. You can see it didn't make it any farther in the Joe block than the other one did. It stayed intact with its jacket somehow, some way, but it's still down there at 21 inches with a bounce back from 22. So the exact same depth, but I can tell you, I'm sure it mushroomed out a little bit more. We'll go ahead and get it pulled out, but that's actually really impressive that the wound channel itself is pretty much the same thing, whether it's up close or out at 100 yards. That's pretty darn effective. Let's take a look from the top. And the top is more confirmation of just side by side. They really do look the same. You can see that the red plug has been lost. There might be a little bit more of a charring or weird looking darkening effect in the middle of that wound channel. There might be a few more pieces of lead here and there versus here and there on the other channel, but we did lose lead all the way down. Again, it didn't separate out from its cup, but the core did land down there at the same place. Pretty cool. Of course, you guys will have the slow motion footage to judge from that, how it did on temporary wound cavity, things like that. We did see it pick up the block and absolutely flip it upside down. So we know we had some more foot-pounds of energy delivered on target being up close. But just initial view before we pull them out, we do see the one that we smacked up close. I can tell it definitely mangled itself more, but still pretty darn impressive that they have similar wound tracks and landed at the same distance. Let's dig them out. All right, there's our 100-yard shot, and there's our up-close shot. And I might be wrong about the whole mangled bullet thing, too, because the one far away appears to be more mangled. It lost its core, or its shell, cup, whatever you want to call it, but the bullet itself is pretty darn mangled. It has a really smashed up face to it. It did lose plenty of lead. We'll see exactly how much soon. But this one, even though it kept its copper jacket, it's totally mangled. It's absolutely peeled back, and they're tucked into the back of that bullet about as tight as they can get. A couple pieces I found for you right there that were laying next to it, but that thing is totally smashed and mushroomed out. Let's measure them a little bit. All right, the one at 100 yards weighs in at 157.7, and that was starting out from a 250 grain pill. If we go ahead and put the copper jacket in there, we can get up to actually 226. So that copper jacket is significantly heavy. Interesting. Back down to 157. Let's see what the other one weighs. All right, the one we shot up close that retained its jacket, we have 193.4. The 100-yard shot comes in at the widest point right there at 0.614. And if I turn it just a little bit, I can get a 0.640. The one up close, however, is a 0.666. Ooh, weird. Or we can turn it around and get rid of that evil number and get 0.699. Well, I'm going to say that that one gets an A+ for being super consistent, whether we're far out or up close. That's pretty awesome. When you're hunting deer, you don't know what you're going to expect. You don't know or what to expect. You don't know what distance they'll be at. They can be anywhere. These sneaky little devils, they end up right underneath you sometimes, or they're creeping along a fence line at a known distance, something that you know they're going to come out onto a oil line or a power line, something like that. But man, when they surprise you, they surprise you. It's good to know that your bullet's going to do pretty much the same thing up close or far away. You're going to lose a little bit of lead no matter what. It's not a solid copper, but at least it's predictable. So there's the information. Use it as you see fit. Thank you for watching this video. Hope to see you at the next one. And until then, stay safe, have fun, and keep shooting.